So hi, I'm Aisling and I lead pricing strategy for Intercom. So nobody gets fired for buying IBM. Now, I'm not old enough to have been buying software for IBM when this statement was true, but the cliche about the safety of sticking with the status quo is still very relevant today. And so in 2023, when we were launching Fin, Intercom's AI agent for customer support, we faced our own version of this choice. At the time, all other companies that were launching AI agents were doing so with seat-based or usage-based pricing. And we had to decide, did we stick to what everyone else was doing? Or would we pioneer a new pricing model, a pricing model that was based on outcomes? And in the past, Intercom had made many mistakes when it came to pricing. Love the product, but hate the pricing was something that we consistently heard from our customers. And so the stakes were really high for how we priced our AI agent. But the reality is that when it comes to pricing, the stakes are always high. How you align your price to what customers are willing to pay can be really make or break for companies. And so today, I'm going to walk you through the pricing bet we made and why we made it, what we've learned since launching Fin and how that might help you as you're thinking through pricing AI agents. And then I'm going to make a couple of predictions on how I think AI pricing is going to go in the future. And so when we were thinking about launching Fin, we felt that seat-based or usage-based pricing really didn't align to customers' perception of value. One customer summed it up perfectly when it came to usage-based pricing. It's like calling a call center and the agent says, "You suck," and hangs up. Yes, that counts as usage and it counts as a conversation, but it definitely doesn't count as value. And so we believed aligning our success with customer outcomes would build the foundation for long-term growth. If our agent was truly as good as we thought it was, and was going to deliver the kind of value that we were saying it would, we should tie our revenue directly to that value. And so we took a bet. We priced Fin per successfully resolved conversation, what we call per resolution. If Fin succeeds, we earned. If it didn't, we didn't. And we became the first AI agent in the space to price on results, and many have followed since. So far, customers have responded really well, and we have over 5,000 customers who buy and love Fin. Outcome-based pricing felt fair, and it made Fin feel less like a tool and more like a team member. But most importantly, it meant that our sales team could go out with one consistent message of you only pay when it works. While we're confident that we made the right pricing bet, it definitely wasn't always smooth sailing. Outcome-based pricing presents a new set of challenges. And so I'm going to share a little bit about what we've learned so far. Outcome-based pricing comes with one major trade-off, and that's billing uncertainty. Like, how could customers know how many resolutions they'd need when they hadn't even implemented an AI agent before? And so we had to make the unpredictable more predictable. We did 3 things. First of all, we offered free trials and proof of concepts to help customers get an understanding of how many conversations Fin could resolve for them. Then we created a system where customers could buy a bucket of resolutions and burn that bucket down over the course of the year, like using credits. And we added spending limits and usage alerts so that customers felt more in control of their costs. What we found was really interesting. So when we introduced all of these mechanisms, customers didn't just feel safer using Fin, it actually grew adoption. So the transparency around pricing built confidence, and that confidence drove adoption. And so the key thing to take away here is that people are willing to take some level of risk once they feel like they have some control of it. But predictability wasn't the only challenge. Not all resolutions are created equal. And so answering a simple question like, what is your refund policy, is very different to actually processing the refund on behalf of the customer. And so because the value varies so much, we were asking, should the price also vary too? I think the answer here is maybe. We could have broken a resolution apart into many different metrics, but it would have added a lot of complexity. And so we chose simplicity, and we chose to price per one resolution. It's definitely not perfect, but in this moment, trust and clarity matter much more than precision, especially when customers are only getting used to the concept of outcome-based pricing in SaaS. And so our pricing model didn't just shape how customers paid, it also changed how we sold Fin. And so at first, we really led with messaging around Fin cuts support costs by reducing headcount. But what we quickly learned was that heads of support weren't all that interested in reducing the size of their team straight away. What they cared about most was customer experience and growth. And so what we did was we shifted the narrative. And instead of focusing on savings, we focused on how Fin improves customer experience, which reduces churn and drives top-line growth. Here's where the pricing part of it comes in. When customers saw Fin as a value creator and not just as a cost saver, they actually became willing to pay more. And so this shift helped us to win more deals and justify higher prices because we were tied to top-line growth and not just bottom-line efficiency. So where is AI pricing headed, especially for AI agents? No surprise here, I think we're going to see a major shift away from pure usage-based pricing for AI agents. And more companies are going to adopt outcome-based pricing. The token counting days are numbered, and the companies that charge purely by token in 2 years' time are going to be the outliers. Why? Because AI is supposed to deliver results and not just consume compute. As the market matures and competition increases, customers will demand pricing that reflects that promise. I think we're also going to see more unbundling of AI agent capabilities with different pricing. So this one price fits all approach isn't going to make sense in the future as AI agents expand their capabilities into different functions that deliver vastly different value. And I know this kind of contradicts one of the lessons that we learned about keeping it simple. And Intercom today charges per resolution, but we anticipate the need to diverge from that approach in the future, especially when we launch new products and services like phone for AI support. And smart companies will price differently based on the different value they provide without overcomplicating things. As AI gets smarter, it's not just going to deliver outcomes. I think it's also going to help to verify them. And so today we rely on really deterministic logic to track when a resolution was successful. But soon I see a world where AI itself is evaluating the quality of its outcomes. And so we'll be able to know, did the customer really get what they needed? And when this rolls out, what we'll see is outcome-based pricing will become even more credible because it won't just be about whether something looked resolved, it will be about whether it actually is. And that level of validation will unlock pricing models that truly reflect value. So, what has pricing Fin taught us? Outcome-based pricing works because it aligns with what customers care about most, results. Yes, there are challenges, predictability, value variation, but we think that they can be solved. And most importantly, outcome-based pricing builds trust, it drives adoption, and it helps AI agents feel like a true part of the team. And so for Intercom, outcome-based pricing wasn't just a strategy. For us, it was a bet on trust, on the value we deliver, and for the future of our AI agent. And so far, it's paying off. Token counting is dying. The future is improving value. And so instead of metering your customers' usage, show them you've invested in their outcomes. Outcome-based pricing isn't just how we win, it's how our customers win. And if you want your AI to be trusted, prove it delivers and take the leap. People expect to pay for what works, and outcome-based pricing is what's making that possible. And so before I open it up for Q&A, I'm going to do a little shameless plug to let everyone know that we are hiring across a number of functions. Please check our careers website. And 2 roles in particular that we've just opened up are forward deployed engineers and solution engineers. Finn has grown really quick. We're a very well treated bunch, and if anyone would like to chat to me after the talk, happy to discuss open roles. Oh, okay.
Hello. My name is Craig DeWitt, and I am the founder of Skyfire. Skyfire gives AI agents identity and payment capabilities. Now, I know everybody here is tangentially, at least, involved in AI and sees the coming of the AI economy, and so I think one question has united us all for a very long time. Do androids dream of electric sheep? I don't know, but there's probably a way to monetize it. And I think with tonight's talk, figuring out how agents are going to pay for things, and for the folks in this room who are building products, how are you actually going to monetize that? Because your next million users might not be humans, they'll probably be agents programmatically accessing your service and paying. So, I'm going to continue to anthropomorphize agents. What do they wish they could do? Well, a web dev agent, maybe something on Windsurfer, builds a website for a user and then instantly signs up to a cloud platform like Netlify to deploy the new website. No human being having to go there and type in their name or go through that verification process and then get an API key and plug it in. A RevOps agent programmatically acquiring a specific data set to be able to give better GTM guidance on a one-off report. Like, why is Lululemon overselling Athleta in the American Southwest? You probably don't own that data set today. A developer agent paying for a web service subscription. Well, if you're a vibe coder, you might need a customer service agent to be included in your website. Why not be able to, with one click, programmatically create an account with Intercom to be able to integrate Finn? An AI assistant requesting Apify Actor for web scraping service. I hope you guys are building actors on Apify. It's awesome. They paid out over $2 million to creators. I think $250K a month. Yeah. That's incredible, right? Now, how should they get paid? Well, it's going to be a lot easier because the services will be discoverable via MCP servers, and agents will be able to programmatically connect to them, use their tools, but what's missing is the programmatic account setup and payment, all on the fly. And the last piece is an AI assistant logging into a website and making a restaurant reservation, like at Resy. Now, I hope there's some web scraping folks here today. If there's time and this kind of relationship evolves and you guys want to see a demo, we've announced a partnership today with 2 of the most aggressive bot blockers. These are like folks who are very good at detecting web scraping, named Datadome and Sequence, who now allow with Skyfire agent identification and monetization for access to sites and the APIs they provide. So, the problem that we see today, especially with the advent of MCP servers, is agents can discover services, like MCP aggregators, that's coming along. They can understand the APIs now and programmatically integrate to them. That is very cool. But you still require a human being to go to the website and create an account, and then to pull out that piece of plastic and type in the numbers. So let's go through the actual flow of what it takes for an agent to solve a problem on the fly. The first thing the agent can do is identify the right tool or app. There's a lot of services really coming about, aggregation services to understand those tools so agents can find them. The second piece is, okay, well then an agent needs to sign up for that service, receive the credentialing, to then use the tool, and at some point, if that's a free service, you have to pay for the subscription, or, like we saw with Finn, the per use of that tool on a per use basis. The problem, if you guys have gone through this so far, is that we have these incredible systems today that still require a human being to leave a platform, to go to a website, to type in information, to verify an email address, to get the API key, to plug the API key in, and now the magic of MCP takes place because you can use those tools. These are the places where Skyfire spends a lot of time solving problems today. The account creation should be something where agents can programmatically deliver verified informations to get the accounts that they need, and use the exact same auth and API access that exists today for those services. Now that can happen at the account creation piece or once they hit a free tier threshold, but that's where the pay-per-use and subscription comes into play. Agents need the ability of paying for tools that they use. And so we saw this a little bit in the last presentation, completely agree. But we would add, like, without identity, payments, or trust, MCP and even AI cannot reach its full potential. So what are the 3 fundamental problems that we see for monetization, which is kind of what we believe is the bedrock of the AI economy? The first is just create an account, right? You need to be able to access applications and marketplaces and web services on the fly. The second piece is if you are selling those services, you need to know who is accessing programmatically. And I can tell you, with programmatic access, the bar is higher. If people have built in this room, you've probably been like slammed with spam accounts before. You need to have, I see a lot of nodding heads there. You need to have a very high barrier for actually knowing the identity of who is creating that account programmatically. And the third piece is the actual monetization. They're able to create accounts, you're able to know who they are. How do you accept payment for them? You need to be able to accept payment in a variety of ways. I can tell you, credit cards have a ton of problems, especially in the interchange fee when it comes to that. So, how does Skyfire work? Well, we are publishing an open protocol, and we're really the first network built on it because it's the protocol that we're suggesting. But here's the idea. An agent or an agent developer or business goes through a KYA process. For the payment folks or payment nerds like me in the crowd, there's KYC, know your customer. There's KYB, know your business. And now there's KYA, know your agent. Okay, I'll work on that. That's on me, guys. So know your agent. So what the agent does is they create a token, and that token is able to include the information that has been registered and verified with Skyfire. That token is then passed over with any standard API request for an account creation, just in the header. You get the standard web response, and then within that token is also a prepaid balance. That prepaid balance can be charged by the service once the service is delivered. So you can do a subscription service, you can do a per-use service, you can do an outcome-based pricing, but it's charged to where Skyfire handles the settlement from that agent's account to the business's account. You get ACH'd out on an on-demand basis directly into your bank account. Now what's cool is that from the website perspective, you know who it is, you're able to have guaranteed payment, and now you can accept a brand new user base, AI agents. We think this is perfect for what we see happening in the MCP space. Because now, not only do you have discovery and integration, but you're able to do account creation, payment, and programmatic access to your service, all using a standardized technique. So the use cases that we see are 1, website access, which we think is really where discovery takes place. 2, the account creation, which is really where the identity is delivered to the service. And 3, the actual payment for the service or the activation of the service by paying for a subscription. And that's with the payment token that is delivered, all using the same auth services that exist today. So, would you guys like to see a demo? Yeah. All right. All right, so what we announced today is with Datadome and Sequence, they power like a decent chunk of the internet. They have been throwing 403 errors when they detect bots. If anybody scraped here, you may have been detected at some point as being programmatic access, and they say, we don't like your kind around here, and they throw you an error. Wikipedia's costs have actually gone up, I think 100% over the last 3 months because of bot scraping. Pretty incredible, right? So people are ramping up the cost of protecting this, right? You're seeing the same thing for protections around account service as well. So what we do is we provide an alternative. So what I have here is a super simple web crawling interface. I'm going to try to crawl this unprotected website. We'll see if it works. Okay, cool. So what I'm doing right now is I'm crawling a website. Pretty basic stuff here. And that is a successful crawl. Awesome, super easy. They have not spent much money on bot protection. So now let me try to crawl a real site. Boom, blocked. But you don't see a 403 error. You see a 402 error. That's right. 402 was like designed with the beginnings of the internet for payment required for access. And in that case, that is now what is being thrown. So I'll go to my Skyfire dashboard. I won't walk through this, but my agent has a balance. Create an API key. And now let's see if this works. Crawl, come on. Should we try it again? Let's try it again. There we go. Success. So here's what's happening. This agent is paying 0.0001 cents on a per page basis to be able to crawl botscan.net. The web blocking service or the web management service is respecting the Skyfire token protocol that I just talked about. It inspects, it sees the identity, and in this case it sees a prepaid token, then it gates access. It counts usage and then charges, all the way down to a millionth of a cent. So these are the kind of use cases that we think are really going to take off in the agent space, not just for web access, but for account creation, for data access, and for getting the tools that agents need to solve problems on the fly. That's Skyfire. Thank you guys very much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yoko. I'm a partner at A16Z during the day, so that means I lead early-stage investments on developer tools, AI, and infrastructure. But nights and weekends, I actually ship a lot of open source code. That's because before I became a VC, I was always an engineer by trade. I worked on distributed system all the way to the UI layer and agents before the AI wave, and those are the agents on machine and hosts. So a couple months ago, I started exploring MCP, and like many of you here, I was working on a MCP server, and I thought every feature is very cool. And I dug deeper and realized that there are more features most of the developers I know and talk to don't really leverage. So today I'm going to talk about some hidden gems in MCP and some of the future possibilities we have been thinking about. I guess before I get started, maybe a show of hands on how many people here have built a MCP server? Great, there's quite a few of you. What about how many people here have built a MCP client? Great, there's like 5 of you. So naturally, most of us build MCP servers just because that's how the architecture is designed. So a couple months ago, I built a MCP server for a service called Resend. So Resend is an API provider that provides very ergonomic SDKs and APIs for developers who want to send transactional emails as well as marketing emails. So the reason I started building this was that as a developer, I do a lot of my work in Cursor. And then because of the nature of my job, I also need to send a lot of emails, but I don't want to switch out of Cursor. So I built a MCP server that allows me to create a .md file, highlight the whole MD file content, and then send the email directly from my IDE. So this is very much inspired by Vim email for those of you who have used Vim before. And then the first thing I realized is that most of the people, when they use MCP servers, they mostly use tool calls. So, how you define a server.tool and make a tool available, and then underlying that tool, you'll make API requests. And then I found there are 2 other very cool features on MCP that's very underexplored. So one is called prompts. So what are the prompts? So prompts are predefined, and then there's MCP server hosted templates that any human users can trigger. So you can also trigger it with parameters. Why is this useful? So for tool calling, usually it's MCP client making the decision on behalf of the user. So if you want to trigger Exa, or which is a search tool, or Firecrawl, which is another search tool, and then ask cursor agent to pick the two, like you don't really have that much of a leeway of a choice. But in the case of prompts, you can store a prompt template on the MCP server side, and you can manually invoke it using either UI buttons or /commands if you want to implement that as a client. This is very useful when I was writing the recent email MCP server, just because sometimes I want to rewrite my email, and then the prompt for rewriting an email on AIDE might be very long. I don't want to type it out every time. So instead of, say, like invoke the agent to do the work, I can just give it a predefined prompt and then invoke the rewrite email prompts on the MCP server. Another very cool feature after prompts is called resources. Maybe show of hands on how many people use resources before. Oh, amazing, there's one person. Amazing work. So this is a very underutilized feature. A lot of clients out there don't even support this. So resources, they allow servers, MCP servers, to expose more heavyweight data. So imagine you can expose a PDF file, or you can expose a bunch of different templates, and then have the coding agent or the MCP client to choose what resource it wants to query. The interesting thing here is that tools are model controlled, so agents need to choose what tools they use. Prompts are user controlled, so you as a human need to choose what prompts you use. And then interestingly, resources are actually application controlled. How that works is that if you're a developer of cloud code or cloud desktop, you on the application level get to decide if you want the user to trigger like resource query, or how you want the coding agent to trigger the resources. It could be hard-coded, it could be a heuristic, it could be LLM controlled, so it's very flexible. So why is this helpful? So imagine like when working on this recent MCP server. One very cool project from recent is this open source project called React Email. So it lets you define all the email templates using React, like a modern developer instead of HTML. So in this case, I can actually store a number of email templates on the MCP server side for the coding agent or cloud desktop to query at the time of the server invocation, which is very helpful. Now you might be wondering, if these features are so great, why is no one using them? So this is one of those yes, but cases. There's on the MCP website, there's actually a support matrix. Not every client out there supports all the features here. So for example, Cloud Desktop is more full-featured client. It supports resources, prompts, and tools. But then when you look at Cloud Code, you actually can't even leverage resources on this client. So for the 5 people who implement MCP clients here, please implement resources and as well as prompts. So while it's fun to dive into nitty-gritty details, so because of my day job, I get to look at a lot of different markets, and MCP is one of them. So I published a blog about what does the MCP market look like, and what's the future of AI tooling. So there's a few things that really made me start thinking. Although that protocol is in the very early stage, I think there are implications on where the AI tooling is going. One is, instead of building the tools for developers, we're now building the tools essentially for agents. The Exa versus Firecrawl versus another search engine is one example of that. Another example is, remember how we as developers choose tools is through developer ergonomics. But now, when agents choose tools, they may not adhere to the brand. They may not care about the ergonomics because their base model and data distribution has all of that. So I can definitely see a future where agents choose tools based on like latency, cost, accuracy. Obviously, payments is very important if that's the case, because you're metering by usage. So there's definitely blank space for routing, for pricing, for identity. So if you're building here, let me know. Happy to chat, either after the event or send me an email. Lastly, I do want to talk about a very random MCP server I have built about letting my cursor agent or any other MCP client control my lights and communicate through Morse code. So how it works, you might be wondering why that's the case. So the use case is many people complain about when you use cursor. If the cursor finish implementing a project after 10 minutes, you don't know that it finished. So now you can hook it up to the MCP light control MCP server, and then the agent will just start blinking your lights at home, given you use Philips Hue. Which was very useful for me personally. But yeah, well, thanks so much for listening. This has been a fun event. And that's it.
So first of all, thanks everyone for coming to today for our actually largest meetup we have organized ever in San Francisco. And so thanks for coming, and thanks to Intercom for hosting this in their beautiful space. Really appreciate. And actually the reason why we thought this meetup is a good idea is like everybody now talks about like which is the better model, what capabilities we can add. There's like a lot of talk about MCP and all these things, and like image generation, like AI is really the biggest topic in this city right now, right? And like everybody also talks like how AI will replace this job or that job, but like nobody really, well, from what I've seen, like spend much time thinking like what this really means, like if these like agents become more intelligent as they are actually as it actually is happening. What does it mean, like when they started interacting with each other? And now with the rise of MCP, there is like common language these agents can use to talk together, but still we haven't figured like how they can pay each other and discover each other autonomously to really give rise to the full agentic economy, which actually is coming. It's pretty much given by now, but these things are not understood, right? So we thought we can contribute to this discussion by organizing this meetup. I hope you will stay even after the talks to discuss these topics. And today I'm going to talk about like how we at Apify basically see the problem and how we can solve some of the problems this new agentic economy creates, right? So first, short introduction about Apify. So Apify has been historically a web scraping platform. So we have a cloud platform to run web crawlers and scrapers. And we also have a marketplace of these ready-made tools called actors. And we have almost 5,000 actors on the marketplace. And obviously, because of our web scraping history, most of these actors are used for data extraction from the web, right? So we have scrapers like, for example, to extract data from social media. Those are very popular. Or we have actors to extract data, from search engines or maps, which is like, great for many different use cases. Data for AI, right? You need to feed all those AI tools with data, for example, from the web. So it's for example, how Intercom is using Apify to feed their chatbot Fin with data from like blog posts or like documentation sites of their customers to simplify their onboarding. And e-commerce, obviously, for competitive intelligence. There's like really like hundreds and hundreds of different use cases, and we are often surprised by what people want to get from the web. So we have these tools, these actors, and some of them are actually built by us, some are built by our community, and the community can even monetize those actors, so basically make money. And like, last month we paid out, I think it was like $220,000, but actually it's growing, and this marketplace is actually like getting traction. So we know a thing or two about marketplaces, right? And obviously, this is an example of one of these actors, Google Map Scraper, right? It has like stars, right? Like these kind of things you would expect from an app in an app store. Like information about like how many people use it, some pricing. So some actors have pricing like did you just pay for the compute that they use. Some actors have pricing that they are charged per event, per result, or some have like monthly subscription fee. So we experimented over the years with different pricing models. I think the price per event is kind of the winner because it's the most flexible pricing model for these use cases. So each actor defines like events that it charges for, and and then it charges. And when the user calls the actor, the user can specify the maximum price, right? Actually, in principle, actor is just a new way to ship software. It's like based on Docker, and it has like well-defined input and well-defined output, right? And this kind of like simple abstraction allows us, for example, to generate SDKs to run the actors, right? So it's really easy to call the actors from from your Python source code or Node.js or from terminal or shell scripts, or obviously OpenAPI, and also we built a lot of integrations. So now we have like native integrations with tools like Zapier or Make or Slack that you can actually call the actors like natively from those platforms, right? So for example, this is like how our Zapier app looks like. And basically, the fact that actors define input and output makes it very easy to build these integrations, and actually it's a standardized way how to ship software in a way, right? And publish it and monetize it. All right, and obviously now with the quick race of MCP, we added MCP as another integration. So we built like Apify MCP server, as many other people in this room build their servers, right? And basically, what's the most exciting thing about it, at least for us, is we have like 5,000 of these actors in our app store, right? There is simply no way we could expose all these actors through OpenAPI function calling, right? Like it would just consume too much context. But MCP has this like feature actually, and not many clients support it yet, unfortunately. And it's like automated tool discovery or registration of new tools, right? So you can have a tool that gives the client new tools. It registers them in the context, and then it can use them for different things, right? So I'm gonna do a quick demo of this capability. Let's see if it works. So we have our own MCP client for testing because we need to have client that actually supports this. It's called Tester MCP client. By the way, it's another actor. Actors are flexible enough to host MCP clients. So I'll just start it, and let's see what happens. This will okay, right? So I will open basically a web server corresponding to this actor, right? So it's just like a classical LM prompt. And all right, so what is the best Mexican restaurant in Ferry Building? Let's see. So now a couple of actors from our store are pre-registered in the context of the client, right? So all right, making some changes last night, and the team in Europe is already sleeping. So, but I have a screenshot, obviously. So, it's unfortunate, right? So, what is the best Mexican restaurant around the Ferry Building? And you can see it will call one of these actors called Google Maps with contact details, like searches for Mexican restaurants, and I'm happy to help you, yada da da. And then it found like Mi Comedor. I'm not so sure about that, but all right. Okay, and then let's say these are tools that are pre-registered, but I want to use like new tools from the store. So like find a tool to scrape Twitter and give me the last tweet of Jan Curn. All right, I'll help you find Twitter scraping tool and get last tweet from Jan Curn. Let me first find a suitable actor for scraping Twitter. So it will call this tool called search actor, which will give it a result, and it will give result like a couple of tools to use, and it will register one of these tools, one of these actors with add tool command, and basically then it's ready to use, right? So in next call, it calls this actor. It's called Apidojo, actually it's from our community. It's an organization called Apidojo, and they have this tool called Tweet Scraper. They call it, and actually fetches the result, and like the last tweet is about actually this event, right? So this looks about right. All right, and so as I guess everyone have seen or noticed, like MCP became very quickly a big topic because obviously like AI agents and AI is extremely popular area, and rightfully so because it will change the future for everyone. But as you can see, like MCP has now 10 times the web traffic compared to OpenAPI, right? So it's kind of clear that they won, and actually they quickly became a standard for inter-agent and agent-to-tool communication. there is like now a couple of dozen of different MCP server registries, right? So our friends from Master AI made a registry of registries, just so that you can keep track of all the new MCP server registries, right? And for example, as MCP market, it has like 12,000 different MCP servers, right? So you can see it's actually growing dramatically, the number of servers, right? So you would think like now that thousands of tools support MCP, so the agents can access any of them, right? Well, not really, because you still need API key to all the services, right? So basically, the developer of the agent needs to provide the agent like, okay, there's a list of tools, list of API keys, well, and obviously like accounts and all that. And you can always select from those. And you can't really discover new tools or new agents actually on the fly, because there's no way to use them. I mean, you can still use like the free services, like web is mainly open, so agents access any websites, that's fine. But pretty much every service that kind of does something meaningful requires an account, right? So solution number one, the simple one would be, okay, well, why can't agents actually subscribe themselves, right? Well, for that, you need the email, phone number, pass the CAPTCHA, you need to have some name typically, some address, credit card, So, I mean, in theory, we could do that, but it's, not practical for applications, right? So this is more just, an example of like a solution that's not really that's more theoretical. Obviously, you can have solution number two, like a common identity and payments provider, like Skyfire, for example, right? So you have like a trusted sort of authority that that you pay money to, and then the agents can use the bank account to pay the services, and so on, which I think is great, and it's definitely way to solve this problem in the future. But I think, and I'm sure Craig would attest to that, like launching like this sort of like payment network, it faces like big chicken and egg problem, right? You need a lot of services to support that, and services will support it if a lot of agents use that, but agents will not use it until a lot of services support it, right? And I think it's a challenge every, introduction of credit cards in the 60s phase, basically, or launch of PayPal in the 90s, basically. They had to overcome this cold start problem of this like launching big network, right? It's doable, but it's tricky, and it takes a lot of effort, a lot of money, I guess. So here we would like to propose a third solution to this problem, and it's really like to have an open marketplace of tools and agents. And the idea is that if there's a central marketplace with all these tools, basically you just need one API key to access that marketplace, right? And the marketplace will give you access to the third-party tools. It could be like, for example, like external MCP servers even. And basically, if the marketplace is open enough that like any developer can build this and publish, a new tool like that, even without the target service knowing, actually, this can be scaled dramatically, right? So, for example, we don't need to wait for some company to implement the payments for their tools. We can just do it right away. So basically, the developer will create an account on the service, get API token, build an actor, for example, publish on Apify, and then basically charge the caller of the actor, right? So basically, the developer gets the money, right? So developer, so actor can run the code itself. It can run, on our infrastructure, or it can just like wrap an external service or API or MCP server, charge the user for the usage, and the developer pays the money they pocket into the service, right? And basically, anyone can publish such actor on the marketplace. So basically, we can rapidly scale the number of tools available, right? And thanks to the fact that we already have 5,000 tools, we already have like a bit of a head start, before somebody else does these things, right? So we have built just that over the last week, I would say. So I'll try another demo here. Let's see if it works. Let's just restart this actor again. So all right, it's starting now. Okay, so let's see. So first tool I want to demonstrate is like MCP server called Playwright MCP. Playwright is a browser automation library. They launched, it's from Microsoft. They actually launched their own MCP server. And we just like decided, okay, it's an open source. So we just like decided to make an actor out of it, right? And publish it on our store. So is there actor for Playwright MCP? Let's see. If it takes too long, I'll show the screenshot again. Well, our team back in Europe built it just over the last few days, right? So let's say there are some rough edges, and I'll show the screenshot, I guess. All right, so here in this example, my question was like, find details about the agentic economy meetup tonight in San Francisco. So first, it will use tool actually called RAG Web Browser, which is like another actor that performs the web browsing. It's like a web browser in ChatGPT. And yeah, okay, it found the web page on Luma. And here are some like details from that page, right? Like location and so on. And now we're, okay, so add the Playwright MCP server to tools. So it's one of the actors in our store. So it kind of, the agent first searches for the MCP server for Playwright. It finds one. It decides to add it to the tools. And then actually calls the tool to open the web page of Luma, right? And actually, it navigates to the page and basically it takes a screenshot, right? So it's just a simple demo that is like Playwright MCP runs on our Apify, and we did that. We published it on Apify actually without any cooperation from the team building Playwright, right? So it's just like anybody can do this. All right. So this is kind of like simple enough. It's an open source, right? So we thought, okay. So one of our competitors, a company called BrowserBase, also has MCP server and also like browser automation library. So we were like, why cannot we publish their MCP server on our marketplace, right? So we did that as well. So we wrapped the BrowserBase MCP server, published it as an actor on Apify store, and now basically added it to the context. So like, okay, I would like to use Apify's competitor BrowserBase. Do they have MCP server? It finds a tool. Okay, great, I found it in Apify store. Let me get details about the tool, and then actually adds the tool into the client tools, right? All right, cool. So that worked, and then basically the agent shows what are the available commands. And actually, this is using the not very known feature of MCP. It's like MCP server nesting. Even the creators of MCP were talking about it, like that this is something they envisioned. And the idea is that like you can build a hierarchy of MCP servers, and one like MCP server can actually connect to other MCP servers internally and other tools into its own tools, right? So basically, you can create this like sort of like hierarchy or mesh of MCP servers or different actually agents, right? Which is like the key to build agentic economy. So these are the tools of the BrowserBase. Okay, so I just wanted to like, okay, let's call the tool to navigate to this web page. Takes a screenshot, right? That looks about right. And actually, then I wanted like I was just trying if it can fill the registration. And actually, I think it almost succeeded, but then it got stuck somewhere on some errors, right? But basically, that was for the point of the demo. This is just it's very simplistic, and it's still very rough. We just launched it like last night. But so the idea now is like with this capability, we really want to like bring as many MCP servers or different tools to our store, and then like provide this like centralized marketplace for agents to use and pick of all these tools with just one API token, one account, right? And obviously we're working on integration with Skyfire as well. And the reason why developers should publish their tools on Apify is actually we have like 700,000 monthly visitors. It's actually growing nicely. It generates like monthly revenue of $1 million now, and it's actually growing quite a lot. And we believe actually we can bring a lot of new tools and really become the centralized marketplace of these tools, the new agentic era. I mean, there are still a few open questions that I think in the coming months will need to be answered. For example, will this autonomous discovery provide real value, right? I mean, everybody who builds agents right now knows that it's hard enough to build a good agent even with fixed static tools, right? So I think whether we can let the agents like to discover tools themselves and pay for them and actually provide value, I think that's tricky. But as the agents get better, I think they will get there eventually, right? They have to. I mean, otherwise they will never replace all the people, right? So and how can agents trust tools and each other? So well, that's the question of trust, right? When you interact with a company with another company, or you as an individual with another person, well, you need to like establish some trust with them before you transact and pay them, right? Well, agents will need to. I mean, because there will be like a lot of scammers out there as well, right? A lot of strange scam agents and services, basically, right? So like there's like a new layer of trust that will need to be built for the agents, and also like who is responsible if the agents does something wrong and you lose money. Well, it's an AI, right? So who will cover the damage, right? So I guess there still will need to be like companies responsible for the actions of the agents that they have built and maintain, kind of. And obviously, another question, it's more a philosophical one. Isn't this actually this like agentic interaction something that will actually enable the creation of AGI, really? Because like the same way as the intelligence emerges in biological systems, right? It's like from combination interaction of like smaller, more stupid like cells or entities, and basically they raise up to human, and then like kind of companies, markets. Basically, it's like interaction with a lot of human. Basically, create like higher intelligence, right? So maybe this is actually how the AGI will be really created, by combination of a lot of different agents interacting with each other, transacting and paying. And I guess this is like slightly more comfortable reality of like AGI, in these systems, rather than like one huge HAL computer that controls everything, right? So I think it's something worth keeping working on. And that's all for me. So thank you for your attention, and thanks for coming.